I never did voted before.
You've never voted?
No.
Have you ever voted before?
No.
People are not that interested in politics. I feel like it's rigged.
So I feel like people have given up.
Despite how critical Toronto and the GTA are in federal elections, voter turnout here is abysmal.
I love to vote, but sometimes we think, I don't know, it really works. You know, like...
You even question it.
I even question it. Is it the truth that it's really... we got the vote and it's really affected?
I'm at a point where I'm trying to learn more about politics.
Young people don't vote in the same numbers as older Canadians. What do you think about that? What needs to happen to change that?
Something that would help would be social media, maybe? I don't know.
Honestly, to be very honest, I don't think I have the capacity to select news and to make decision on what information I should be intaking.
The more education somebody has, the more likely they are to vote.
I also hear from a lot of people who say they just don't feel like they know enough to cast a ballot.
Yes.
What needs to be done to try to combat that?
Young people in particular are increasingly saying that they feel lonely. And we know that people who report that they feel lonely are 14% less likely to vote. But it's really about, do I care about, am I involved in my community? And I think that's, when that gets eroded, people are much less likely to vote. When the evidence is very clear on that.
The worst turnout in the province was here in King Vaughan, where 48% of eligible voters cast a ballot.
I think a lot of people are going to vote this time. It's going to go higher, I guarantee you. I'm going to go vote too. I never did voted before.
You've never voted?
No, I've only once.
You've only voted once?
Once, yeah.
Why do you think it is that people are not voting in the same kind of numbers as they are in other ridings?
We don't know what's the truth, which one's the lie. They call it fixed, so to speak. So it's like we're wasting our time going there.
This riding, King Vaughan, has the worst voter turnout in the entire province. What do you think of that?
They're all wealthy. They don't care. They're all very white. Can't you see? You see any rust in these cars? You see Ferraris, Bentleys.
I think people are in a little bit of a bubble here. It's an affluent area, and I feel as though maybe they feel as though their wealth or their future is untouchable. When it comes down to it, it's not just about you, even though, we live in our own little home, which is our own little bubble. We have to also keep in mind the society as a whole, and just try to, again, that's our only power.
I believe Canadians vote quite a bit, but I think if they voted in the previous years and it's never come to fruition where, every time I vote, it never works out for me or whatever it is, or they promise something, they don't come through, so that's going to get lesser and lesser and lesser.
Are you going to vote in the election?
Possibly.
Possibly.
I should.
Yeah, why is it only possibly?
Because I really am having a hard time for who. If they're supposed to be working for us, representing us, I don't know of anybody that's been asked, what's in your best interest, what's best for you?
In Markham Unionville, basically only every other voter voted in the last election, 5th worst in the province. Have you ever not voted in a federal election?
No, I always vote.
You always vote?
Yeah.
And why is that? Why do you decide to vote every single time?
I think it's a responsibility thing. As a citizen, you need to be responsible. Otherwise, you cannot complain because you didn't do your vote, right? Your basic responsibility, you didn't carry out. My background in Chinese, right? Chinese culture, maybe they are a little bit too used to be imperialist culture, that as long as I do my part, I pay the tax, I make the money, I'm fine.
What would you say then to a member within your community who is saying, I don't need to vote, I'm just going to focus on what I need to do, and I don't worry about this?
In order to change, improve, you have to vote. That's the basic rights and power that you have. It's through voting, then people will listen to you. Whoever governing will listen to you and to do the change.
Now the vote in Markham Unionville is even more unpredictable. The Liberal incumbent, Paul Chang, stepped out of the race. The departure followed days of controversy after he said a Conservative rival should be taken to the local Chinese consulate to collect a bounty.
There is no incumbent on a ballot. That often has the biggest change in voter behavior, because a lot of voters will then take a look at the candidates a little bit more, feel a little bit less of that loyalty they might have. I think there's a number of factors that can then lead to lower turnout in particularly suburban areas. I think that one is that it's a population that is moving around a lot, and so might have not a huge degree of attachment to their local area. There's often a lot of new Canadians, so communities that might have English as a second or third language, that they don't feel like they're being really engaged in the race.
All but one of the ridings with the worst turnout rates in the province in the last election were here in the GTA. Have you ever missed voting in an election?
Yeah.
Well, what was the reason when you missed?
The media just seemed like it went one way. Whether I was for or against it, it just seemed like it was already made up. So I feel like people are just scared to go out or have given up hope.
So what do we do to combat that loss of hope, feeling like my vote doesn't matter?
I just feel like everybody should put out their opinion, and hopefully we can, see some changes.
It was also interesting for me too, frankly, just because you're like, I think one of the most important things is that people put their opinion out, and no shade, but you didn't want to give your opinion.
Yeah.
So it's like a little, even in your answer, it's a little cross-scripted.
Yeah, I try not to, because that's...
You don't want to rub anyone the wrong way,
No.
right? The 905 allegedly matters so much to the party leaders, and then we see some of the ridings in the GTA were decided by less than 100 votes in the last election. So it makes it feel like your vote really would matter when the races are so tight. Do you think that has an impact on people?
I think it does, but it's also, you're in a mall also where people really, right now, the pandemic didn't help. So people are really trying to keep up with the costs, with the, trying to survive every day.
And when the consideration is really around survival, then the question is, is voting an integral piece of their life, or is it something that maybe they'll do when and if they have time, should they feel like it?
Okay, so if someone put that argument to you, what would you say to them?
I would say come to one of our roundtables. I will actually get people talking about issues to kind of really lower that intimidation factor and give them a nudge as to why it's important to actually show up.
A lot of these same ideas keep on coming up. Speaking their language, getting right to people, making it make sense, making it easy for them, and yet still we're in this moment. So what do you think is actually gonna change the channel?
People need to know if there's an opportunity to co-create and define Canada's future.
How do you make sure that you're knowledgeable and you know what's happening?
Actually in Markham, a lot of even Asian community, we have a group, right? There's a group in over 500.
And how did you become a part of these groups?
It's basically the counselor come out, reach out to us. There are a few counselors, they are very helpful in community. They come out, help us, and also help the new immigrant come here. Because I think the citizens here, they don't have a very good knowledge about what could they do, and with their citizen power, they can actually make a change. So I think just educate on them. They will definitely get better.
Well, thank you. Nice to meet you.
It was really nice. It was a really nice conversation because I get to think about it. Because it's not something that we usually talk about that much.
Go out and vote.
But do you think they will?
I hope so. Yeah, I really hope so. Because right now I think we need it. I know, they always tell you, your vote matters, but really right now, your vote matters. Yeah.
All right, well, cut the piece there. We're good.